Hello again. A new book has been produced by a group of academics in Scotland, which purports to show that 2,000 years ago, Scotland was as diverse and multicultural as modern London. The thumbnail to this video shows an illustration from this newly published book, and in the description to this video, I give a link to its Amazon listing. Now, the truth is, of course, that the archaeologists and so on involved in writing this book knew perfectly well that the pigs were not really black at all. That doesn't matter though, for they are engaged not in a quest to explain history, but rather in a mission to change the present. They hope that if they can persuade enough young people, and the book is, by the way, to be given free to libraries and schools, that Scotland really has been full of black people for thousands of years, then that might stop some of them moaning about immigration. After all, if half the people in Scotland were black in medieval times, then why on earth are folk making a fuss about African asylum seekers today? Ridiculous. This is, of course, an up-to-date version of the pious fraud, which was so popular in ecclesiastical circles during the Middle Ages. Let me explain. Many relics and miracles in the Middle Ages were faked by priests and monks. They undertook such impostures because they knew that simple peasants would be impressed by St. Peter's kneecap, or a vial of this or that saint's blood, or a lame man being healed by praying to Our Lady. The reasoning went that even though these learned men knew that they were deceiving the ignorant, if their frauds had the effect of strengthening their faith in the church and bringing them closer to God, then they were justified. This then was the foundation of the pious fraud. It is a classic illustration of the phrase used by Hermann Busenbaum, a Jesuit theologian who died in the 17th century. He wrote that "Cum finis et licitus etiam media sunt licita," which translates roughly as "when the end is lawful, the means to achieve it are likewise lawful." In the modern world today, in America and Western Europe, the aim is, of course, not religious faith, but rather in getting folk to buy in more wholeheartedly to the idea of a diverse and multicultural society. One way of achieving this end is to decenter whiteness, as the expression is used. That is to say, rather than having white people and white culture as the default setting in our society, we should try to make sure that more black people are featured as being admirable role models, particularly if these can be found in the distant past, thus promoting the false idea that Europe always had many black people living in the continent. So it is that St. Augustine is often portrayed today as black, simply because he lived in Africa. He was a Berber, of course, but that doesn't matter. The same trick is played with Septimius Severus, who was an emperor of Rome and lived in this country. He was partly Roman and partly Phoenician, but because he was born in North Africa, he too is shown as being black. The new book showing the ancient people of Scotland as black is all of a piece with this. Those drawing the illustrations and the men and women writing the text do not believe for a moment that this was true. They are, as I say, perpetrating a pious fraud, telling themselves that because the end is lawful, then the means to achieve that end must also be lawful, even if it entails telling a lot of lies.